Write me a story about animals in the deep sea for 10 minutes. This animal lives at the bottom of the ocean, where there's no light. How do they see? This is the blobfish. They live so deep under the ocean that the sunlight cannot reach them. So they have adapted to living in complete darkness by developing eyes that can only detect shapes and movements instead of seeing colors. Their bodies are also transparent, so that any light that does pass through the water will pass straight through their body. And since they don't need to chase prey, being fast isn't important to them. So they can just float around with the current wherever it takes them. Now, because they don't move very much, you would think that they are not very good hunters. But actually, this couldn't be further from the truth. Blobfish are ambush predators. That means that instead of chasing down their food, they just wait for their food to swim right up to them and then swallow it whole. Sometimes that food is plankton or small fish that got too close. But sometimes their dinners are much bigger. These blobfish are actually famous for swallowing entire eels. The way that they do this is by sucking up their prey with their giant mouths. They don't chew their food, though. Instead, they swallow it whole and let their powerful stomachs digest it. Now, if you've ever tried to swallow something big without chewing it first, you probably know that it's not easy to do. And sometimes you need to drink some water to get it down. Well, these guys don't have that luxury, because even if they tried to, they would never find any water. All that they have is a special sack full of mucus, and this is what they use to help push their food down their throats. After they eat, the mucus sac gets pushed into their stomach and it dissolves. Okay, so now let's go shallower. Let's go to the part of the ocean that is between 200 and 1,000 meters deep. Over here, the water pressure can get really high and it's freezing cold. Yet somehow, these next animals thrive over here. Say hello to the Japanese spider crab. These crabs can live up to 100 years old and grow huge. Some have measured legs that are over 4 meters wide. And if that wasn't impressive enough, their leg span can be over 3 meters long. That's like almost twice as tall as me. They live so long and grow so large because they don't need a lot of energy to survive. The water that they live in has very little food, but they don't need a lot of food to stay alive. They get most of their nutrition from dead stuff that falls from the surface, like dead plants and animals, fish and squid. Anything that drifts down to their level is fair game. Then when the food runs out, they can just wait patiently until more food comes floating down. Now, even though these crabs are so big, that doesn't mean that they are fearless. It grows up to 60 feet long and weighs 85 tons. That's about the size of a school bus. Now, imagine one of those swimming towards you in the ocean. You would definitely be scared. So these crabs have learned to protect themselves. They hide in areas with lots of rocks and coral so that they can blend in and become invisible to the whales. Now, even though most animals on the ocean floor are pretty slow and don't move much, that is not the case for all of them. In fact, some of them are the fastest animals in the ocean. Let me introduce you to the oarfish. These are the only fish that have been known to swim at 100 kilometers per hour, which is about 60 miles per hour. For reference, the fastest land animal on Earth is the cheetah, and they only go about 70 kilometers an hour, which is 45 miles an hour. So these fish are faster than cheetahs. The reason that they are so fast is because they feed on smaller fish and squid. And if they can't catch their dinner, then they will end up becoming someone else's dinner. Now, the oarfish can't hold these speeds for very long. They only go that fast when they are trying to get away from something or when they are trying to catch something. When they are doing normal things, like looking for food or swimming around, they only go about 2 to 3 kilometers an hour, which is about 1 to 2 miles an hour. Even though the orca fish are perfectly adapted for life in the open ocean, that doesn't mean that every part of their lives are exciting. Mating for these guys is actually pretty boring. Male orca fish mature at around 3 years old, and females take a little bit longer. They usually mature at around 5 years old. But after that, nothing really happens. Most orca fish just kind of hang out alone. They don't really do anything for several years. Then suddenly, once a year, they all come together to mate. After mating season ends, they all go back to living their separate lives again until the next year, when they all meet up again. So far, all the animals we've talked about today live in the water column, the open ocean. But now let's talk about some animals that live on the seafloor. This guy is called a sea pig. It's actually a type of sea cucumber. Now, even though it looks like a pig, it's not a mammal, nor does it live on land. It's actually a type of echinoderm, like a starfish or a sea urchin. It has no bones, so its body is soft and squishy. It uses its tube feet to crawl along the seafloor looking for food. Since there isn't much food on the seafloor, it basically eats whatever it finds. Some of its favorite foods are dead animals, decaying plants, and sulfur. Yep, you heard that right. It eats sulfur. This is pretty cool because not many animals can do this. But it's also kind of gross because it eats by sucking up sediment from the seafloor. Then it filters out the stuff it wants to eat. Sea pigs are normally about the size of a golf ball, but they can grow to be up to 20 centimeters long. Sea pigs have been found all over the world and at different depths, from shallow waters all the way down to 6,000 meters underwater. Because they live so deep, they have adapted to living with no light. They are completely blind. Now, not all sea cucumbers look like a sea pig. Take a look at this guy. This is a true sea cucumber. Even though it's related to the sea pig, it looks more like a regular cucumber. It got its name because its skin is smooth and slimy, just like a cucumber. And it's also the same shape. It can grow to be up to 30 centimeters long, which is about a foot long. These guys tend to live in groups. There are lots of them crowded together on the seafloor. They can be found anywhere in the world's oceans, except for the Arctic Ocean. True sea cucumbers live so close to the bottom of the ocean that they have to deal with very high water pressure. If you were to dive down to their level, you would feel pressure from the water equal to the weight of 2 blue whales sitting on you. This would crush most animals, but not these guys. They're used to it. They have thick skin that helps protect them from the pressure crushing them. Also, they have some control over how much water they keep inside their bodies. By controlling the amount of water inside their bodies, they can control their buoyancy and decide whether they want to float higher in the water or closer to the seafloor. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. See ya.